Hello, everyone, and welcome to the five-star Joshi Show here on the Fight Game Media Network, as well as my YouTube channel. I'm your host, as always, Scott E. And this week we have a nice, packed edition of the podcast because, of course, today we are previewing Stardom to the World 2025, the big-time pay-per-view event as Stardom returns to action for the first time since the five-star Grand Prix final. We'll also be doing a little review for Mio Momono versus Yurika Oka. We'll talk about Stardom's Korakuen Nighter, which is coming up as well this week, and I'll be giving you all my top 5 matches from the Marigold Dream Star Grand Prix thus far, with 3 more days to go. Thank you, everyone, for once again joining me here on the podcast. Always appreciate those who check it out, especially with all the content I've been doing. I posted a message on the YouTube channel if you haven't seen it, just thanking everyone for the continued support throughout these two tournaments. I think we're over 90. We're over 20 videos thus far, 20 reviews. So it really means a lot to me for anyone who has been checking them out along the way. I ask you though, if you are still tuned in to the Dream Star Grand Prix, we just had the 2 best days of the tournament thus far. Check out the review from the Korakuen Hall show, day 8, which dropped this past Saturday. Absolutely love that show. Had the main event of Utami Hayashishita versus Mayu Utami, which is, spoiler alert, my favorite match of the tournament. We also had a really good show from Tuesday, which was at Shinjuku Face, day 9 of the tournament, with the main event being Mayu Utami versus Koki Amare. So please, if you haven't checked those out, make sure to do so, whether you are listening to on podcast or the YouTube channel. Please go and check those out. But we have so much to get to. We have so much to talk about. So let's do that, shall we? We're talking the World Wonder Ring Stardom. Like I said, big time show this upcoming weekend. They have their first pay-per-view since the 5-star Grand Prix, Stardom to the World. The first time we've had this exact name of a pay-per-view, so pretty big one. It features 3 major title matches, which we'll give in-depth previews to. Also a special tag along the way. But let's get to the full card, give you some thoughts on the undercard before we get to those top matches. Stardom to the World this Saturday. You can buy the pay-per-view now. First up, we have Rian versus Akira Kuragane versus Fuki and Death. So all the wrestlers, Rian not included, all the wrestlers that have been out for the tournament make their full return here on the show if they didn't return on the 5-star show. So that will be a 3-way match on the pre-show. Your first match of the night will be none other than Rina going one-on-one with Emma Mishima. Of course, this is a rematch from the New Blood show where Rina had to end the match due to a concussion. So they're running it back, having these two face off. So a nice, interesting singles match and a nice way for Rina to get back probably on track and get another win after her Red Stars final appearance. You then have Waka Tsukiyama and Hanako teaming up against Aya Sakura and Kikyo Furusawa. Mei Sarah will team with CMLL's Dark Silhouette to take on Yuna Mizumori and Sayaka Karara. Bozilla, Tsukiyoki, and Rina Yamashita of Mi Vida Loca, they'll team up to face Konami, Azusa Inaba, and your 5-star Grand Prix winner in her first match since winning the tournament, Momo Watanabe. So some trios action there. You'll then have the first match of Yuri Hime officially being a member of Stars. It'll be Hanan, Saida, Momokogo, and Yuri Hime taking on the God's Eye team of Saki Kashima, Hina, Rani Yagami, and Kyoko Kotatsu. This will also serve as a preview tag for the upcoming Future of Stardom Championship match. And then in a 4-way tag match, you'll get FWC, Suzuki and Koguma, Azumi and Miyu Amasaki Saori Poi, Natsupoi, and Sariano, and Ami Sareee and Lady C all facing off here. I can see the winner of this match challenging BMI 2000 to the tag belts. Feels like a good way to potentially set that up. And then you'll get your big four matches. And this is kind of where we dive into the preview here. You will have none other than Natsuko Tora going one-on-one with Mayumi Ozaki of Oz Academy. This match was made in an Oz Academy ring. So obviously that's always an interesting idea, right? To do the angle elsewhere and then bring it to Stardom. I don't know how many people have seen the angle, have gone out of their way to see the angle, but you know, it ruined the title match. It ruined the title match main event to set up H.A.T.E versus Oz Academy. It's a fascinating matchup for various reasons. None bigger than I think than the fact that, you know, I don't see a world where Ozaki's getting cheered by a Stardom crowd. Ozaki's nature, Ozaki's career is playing heel. I don't see why she wouldn't do otherwise. And that kind of brings up the continuous question of, is H.A.T.E the heel group anymore, right? Because, you know, you match them up with Sareee. Saree's the one getting booed. They're the ones getting cheered. Saya Kamitani is naturally becoming cheered as is. You look at this matchup, there's a good chance I feel like that the Stardom wrestler is going to be the one that's cheered, even if it's not Scotora, someone who is supposed to be booed. That's the fascinating conversation or fascinating setup to this match, but it is a match nonetheless. If I had to guess, I would think Mayumi Ozaki probably wins. You know, Mayumi Ozaki doesn't really lose much. So it's hard for me to imagine a world where Natsuko is getting the win, but we'll see the chaos that follows with this match. Do I expect it to be a good match? I don't know about that. I don't know what level they're willing to go. If they're going to go to a level where this is kind of like a kind of a bloody war, I think this could be a real surprise on this show. But the mix and match, the matchup itself, I will say does not get me on the edge of my seat necessarily, but we'll see. You know, we'll see. We'll see where it goes. We'll see what makes sense of it, and ultimately we'll go from there. But I do think Mio Mizaki gets the win. Maybe it's a DQ finish. I could also see that possibility. Next up, we have the IWGP Women's Championship match, the most highly anticipated match of the night for me, but the first of three major title matches as Sareee makes her second defense of the championship against Suzuki. I ask you all to head over to Fightful.com. I just dropped an interview with Sareee talking about the Suzuki matchup, the excitement of the matchup, and what she's hoping to do with this match. I think it's an interesting mindset ahead of the match itself. But I mean, based on what these two teams did, right? Or two teams, these two did in the 5-star Grand Prix. This has all the makings to be a legitimate match of the year contender. That is the potential of these two facing off. Suzuki has had two of my favorite matches in all of wrestling this year. They're not my matches of the year, but they're some of my favorites. The Saya Kamitani title challenge at Cork and Hall earlier this year. And then, of course, at All-Star Grand Queendom, her and May Sarah going to war, a bloody war at that. Loved that match. Love what these two did at KBS Hall for 15 minutes. Now there's no time limit. Now the door is open for more violence. Now the door is open for a winner to be crowned. This match, like I said, has the potential to be one of the best matches, but also it has the potential to tell us what direction we're going next with both of these wrestlers, right? On one hand, you have Sareee, who is often, you know, getting the loudest reactions at these shows, mostly boos, but getting the loudest reactions at these shows. And those have slowly become cheers. On the other side, you have someone, Suzuki, who is a rebel, right? She's a rebel. That is her character. She's not a heel. She's not a babyface. She's Suzuki. I think this is a great matchup to really elevate each of them and what their roles have been. You know, their match at KBS Hall was super loud. The two sides were loudly cheered. It was pretty 50-50, and I think that's the excitement of this match. The IWGP Women's title, since it's been around Mayu Iwatani's waist, and now Sareee and Shuri, obviously, it has been elevated, especially this year, right? There's a big focus on this belt. And Sareee believes this is the belt. And she is going into this match, spoiler alert for the interview, but she is going into this match trying to prove that this is the top prize in stardom. I think when you have that mentality, when you have that focus to make this the match, make this the title, you can only be excited for the potential of the matchup. Suzuki is one of the best in the world. Sareee is the best in the world. This is going to be fantastic. And the crazy part is, this is only title match number one. I fully expect Sareee to successfully defend, and we'll see what's next for the Sun God. Could it be a rematch with Momo Watanabe? Could it finally lead us to a face-off between her and Saya Kamitani? There's a lot of directions to go. There's a lot of possibilities to go. Now, with the tag league coming up, you know, Saree's next defense could be postponed a little. She has plenty of other dates coming up. So we'll see. But maybe we make that next date. Maybe Shuri's back. We do know that Shuri returns in an Oz Academy match this coming weekend. So there are many possibilities. It could be Shuri. Shuri could make her return, challenge her, and set it up for one of the pay-per-views later this year. There's a lot of possibilities, a lot of exciting avenues, but I fully expect Sareee to be the one walking out and still your IWGP Women's Champion. We then have Starlight Kid versus Tomoka Inaba for the Wonder of Stardom Championship. There's so much to love about this match. It's either for me, it's either going to be this or the IWGP Women's Title match as your match of the night. There are potential levels for these matches to be top of the line stuff from this year. Starlight Kid and Tomoka Inaba have been teasing this match since February. But there was never a full reason to commit to it. There was never a full reason to, okay, this is the match we're going to have. This is the match we need to have. It never made sense until now. You go back to the opening night of the 5-star Grand Prix, and Tomoka Inaba shocks the world and makes Starlight Kid tap out. Starlight Kid took exception to that. Starlight Kid has blamed Tomoka Inaba for that being kind of the downfall to her in the 5-star and not qualifying at the end. There's more stakes here. There's more anger here. There's more aggression here. There's more excitement here, right? The idea of this match was always exciting, but now there's emphasis, now there is care, and now there is story for why this match is such an exciting one. Starlight Kid's title reign has the argument to being the best in Joshi this year. That is a fact. I'm sorry to the Saya Kamitani fans. It's just a fact. That is what she has done with this title. You date back to the start of her reign and what she has done. Every single match, it feels like Starlight Kid has gotten the most out of her challenger. She's gotten the most out of that match. She has held this belt for 249 days. She had the Rena match, which is my match of the year. She had the Konami match that I think exceeded expectations. Now, I will say the Azumi match, for me, was a letdown. But she comes back and has a match with Hanako that, I'll tell you what, going into it, I didn't have high hopes, but that exceeded my expectations. And then she had the great match at Sapporo Rendezvous with Sareee. There is a conversation to be had that she is having the best singles title reign in Stardom, in Joshi, whatever it may be. That is how great she's been as a champion, and there is maybe no defense more exciting since the Rena one than Tomoka Inaba. Tomoka Inaba is a proven multi-time champion. This is someone who has found success time and time again throughout her career. This is someone who is the ace of JTO. This is someone who, at 23 years old, has all the talent in the world. She's a 4-time Queen of JTO champion, a 2-time JTO Girls Tag Team Champion, and a 1-time Sendai Girls Junior Champion. Titles are in her name, and I think this is a chance for her to really showcase, especially for the first time, really probably since her match with Micah last year for the world title, to showcase that she is among the very best. There is no question as to who is successfully defending their title here. That is, of course, Starlight Kid. She is going to walk out of this match and still your Wonder of Stardom champion. But to me, it's going to be about creating the believability that Tomoka Inaba can take this one, can take this match. And I think with her skill set, with what she's done, with what she's been able to do, her great tournament run, I have all the confidence in the world she is going to make you believe within this match. Like I said, this is your dark horse match of the night. Then, of course, you have the IWGP Women's Title match that feels like your lock for match of the night. These two are going to have a tough spot, right? Following that match as well, being in between that and the main event for the World of Stardom Championship. But I will say this, I think a successful defense against Inaba is in store. And then I think Starlight Kid has a possibility of facing a Hazuki, maybe. I think that is definitely in the conversation for Starlight Kid, because Hazuki has said online she wants this match. She could also defend the belt. Yeah, I mean, I think Hazuki's next because we're not doing Azumi again. I don't think Natsupoi is going down to this belt. So, just basing it on. I mean, of course, the time limit draw with Rena, I'm holding that until Queendom. I think that match should be the Queendom match. So, if you want one more defense, maybe two, between now and Queendom, Hazuki is a great option. But I expect Starlight Kid to successfully retain in what should be an absolutely fantastic matchup. And then you have your main event, the World of Stardom Championship. Saya Kamitani puts the belt on the line against Bea Priestley. A fascinating match here. If you listen to my reviews, you know how I have felt about Bea's return to stardom. I think there are parts of her run that weren't so good. I also think she found some bright points along the way. But this is the biggest match possible. She's going in the main event following 2 title matches that I have full belief will exceed expectation, will be better than this. There's a lot of pressure to perform. There's a lot of pressure to show up. And I think she's naturally gotten a little bit better as time's gone on. But you look at the Saya Kamitani reign. Can this match reach any of the levels of any of these defenses? Of course, you have the Suzuki one, which I was talking about earlier, which I absolutely adored. You have the career versus career match against Tam Nakano, which I mean speaks for itself. You even have the great defense against Sayaka Kurara, Cork, and Hall, and then the fantastic match against Natsupoi. That has been the reign so far. B has already pinned Saya Kamitani. There is, and I'm telling you this now, unless we are just pissing away the story, which I don't think Stardom's doing, there is no way B Priestley wins this match. It just can't. It just can't. I have been comfortably on the road or comfortably on the side of Saya Kamitani should not be losing this belt until at least All-Star Grand Queendom next year. That is the type of motion she has as champion. That's the type of popularity she has as champion. This reign is still fresh. There's still matchups to go through. Bea Priestley getting her second World of Stardom title reign makes no sense to me. Yes, I know she is full time now. Listen, she can find her own faction, do whatever. But with the road that has been paved ahead of us, finally, to give Saya Kamitani something to sink her teeth into. There are 3 matches punching you in the face post Bea Priestley's title defense, which is why Saya Kamitani needs to successfully defend this belt. Again, I don't really have fear that she's not going to do that because the rematches are undeniable. You have one. Saya Kamitani versus Azumi for the World of Stardom Championship. This is a match you are handed, right? Azumi eliminated Saya from the 5-star Grand Prix. Saya, much like she's doing here, is going to want to get that win back against her former Queen's Quest member. Then you have the massive, hello, pay attention, match against Sareee. I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but boy, oh boy, the way we've booked it, the way we've built it up, it would be criminal for it not to happen. And I'd make that a double title match, quite frankly. And then, of course, you have your 5-star Grand Prix winner, Momo Watanabe. Must I say more? Momo Watanabe versus Saya Kamitani is a story so easily told. So easily told, so perfectly told, and a story that needs to be told. I've seen the idea thrown out of B wins and Momo beats B for the belt, then Saya takes the belt back from Momo. I don't want that. That is too much. We don't need hot potato here. The story can get there to Saya and Momo without 3 defensive changes and so on and so forth. I believe this match needs to go down one simple way, and that is with Saya Kamitani winning. You have a challenge after the fact, and so on and so forth. But there is so much road finally paved for Saya, right? We've talked about it a lot. Post-Tam, what is the paved way? I've talked about it ad nauseum at this point. People have probably gotten sick of me talking about it. But we finally have a clear path. Queen's Quest history, Sareee, it's all there. It's all on the table, and it all needs to be followed through on. And I think it will be. So Saya gets a successful defense here in a match that I think is going to exceed expectations, right? If you go into them, their first match was fine, kind of by the books, kind of expected finish. I think there's potential for B to put it all together, much like she did in her final Stardom match last time she was here with Utami Hayashishita with this world title on the line. So we'll see. But more than anything, Saya Kamitani needs to win this match. Let's talk the Korakuen now. The Korakuen is on. When is the Korakuen? It is on Wednesday the 10th. So a show to look forward to there. We have multiple title matches scheduled for this show. All matches that I think are interesting on paper at the very least. Starting with, of course, this one, future Stardom Championship match. You'll have Hina defending against Yurihime. Listen, I think it's a good feather in the cap to give to Hina, right? Another strong defense and one against someone in Yurihime who I think made some strides within the 5-star. It's kind of it's the type of matchup you want to do. It's the type of matchup you look to do to help build a wrestler, and what they can do. So that is your next title match. That is your first title match. Then we'll go through the rest of the card here before the other title matches. You'll have Suzuki versus Akira Kuragane versus Emma Maishima. For the love of God, can we do something else with Suzuki besides rookie matches? Please. Sorry, it's been a few weeks since I had to complain about that. We'll have Waka Tsukiyama, Hanako, and Rion taking on Aya Sakura, Sayaka Kurara, and Kikyo Furusawa. So that is a preview tag to the eventual New Blood tag title match. I have no idea when that's happening, but that's what that is. You'll have Ami Sourei, Lady C, Kyoko Kotatsu, and Saki Kashima taking on Suzuki, Rina Yamashita, Itsuki Aoki, and Bozilla. So Mi Vida Loca versus God's Eye there. You're going to have Tom and Jerry themselves, Natsupoi and Seriano taking on Rana Yagami and Tomoka Inaba. That should be a fun tag match. You also have Hanan, Saida, B. Priestley, and Momo Kogo facing off against Saya Kamitani, Natsuko Tora, Zusa Naba, and Momo Watanabe. So big emphasis on that. The first time those two will team since the 5-star final. Always a little interesting. Always a little something. We'll see how that looks on Wednesday. You'll then have the CML Japan Women's Championship match as Dark Silhouette defends against Kogama. So that should be fun. Maybe this will be Kogama's ticket to the CMLL Women's Grand Prix later in October. I know they started to announce dates for that. Maybe this will be her ticket there if she's able to get the win. Kind of a random match for sure, but a match nonetheless. And then your high speed championship match. Yuna Mizumori, finally, after all these months, gets her opportunity at Meisera for the high speed championship. Meisera's reign has already went over a year. It has been a reign for sure. A reign that should have been even better or much better considering who the wrestler is. She's at past 400 days now. This will be, of course, back to the old rule, the new rules, I should say. The best 2 out of 3 falls. I think this is where Yuna Mizumori takes the belt and calls herself high speed champion once and for all. And it'll be a very deserved big time singles win. It also free up Meisera to do more because I think Meisera is very ready to do more than carry around the high speed title as she has for the past 400 days. So rooting for Yuna to get her big win here in Korakuen. And then the match that was supposed to happen 2 months ago, but of course had to be scrapped due to Rina's concussion. It'll be Azumi, Miyu Amasaki, and Starlight Kid defending the Artists of Stardom Championships against Rina, Konami, and Fukigen Death. Something tells me the reason we had to postpone this match rather than just, replace Rina in the matchup is they probably want these 3 to win the belts. I could see a big shock here. Free up Starlight Kid away from the belt, free up Azumi as well. 2 wrestlers I think are, destined for some big singles matches in the next couple months. I see that being the case. And I see Rina getting a big victory here, another big victory, getting a title around her waist, her next step, while she's flanked by Konami and Fukigen Death. So that is my prediction for that. But like I said, this all takes place on Wednesday. We will have reviews for both of those shows on next week's episode. Maybe I'll get a Stardom to the World review up sooner. We'll wait and see. Maybe do a little review, get that up, and then put it on the podcast later in the week. We'll see how things go. Maybe we'll just have a check it out as well, but I'll bring some sort of content for that review. But if you want to hear the full reviews for each show, definitely tune in to next week's podcast, whether it be on Fight Game Media's podcast platform or right here on the YouTube channel. Worth noting, because this will have happened by the time this podcast has come out, but Stardom has a press conference on Friday at 12:30 Japan time, 11:30 Eastern. New project release is the tease. I have no idea what it's going to be, but I had to record the podcast before it was released. So there's that. Part of me has thrown around the idea maybe they bring back the Idols project that was once upon a time a thing that brought Saya Kamitani to the company. I think that could be something. Yeah, I think that could be a new project they'd like to maybe try out, bring Idols in and see what could happen. What was it called? Stardom Idols. I could see that be kind of resurrected. I've long fully believed that Tam Nakano has still worked for this company one way or the other. Just based on how things go. We'll see what the new project release is, but that's kind of my, random guess. Maybe I was right. Maybe you can laugh at me by the time this podcast comes out, but that's something to look forward to as well. But that is it from the World Wonder Ring. Let's review the marvelous show from Shinkiba this past weekend. It featured the return of Senka Akatsuki to the ring, which is always a welcome happening. Senka missed about a month of action due to being hospitalized because of pneumonia. But boy, oh boy, she returned to the ring as if she never missed a beat, which is always lovely to see. She teamed up with Sorayame and Ai Hozan to take on Takumi Iroha, Sareee, and Valentina Rossi. This was a fun match. This was a fun trios match, and it had a lot of emphasis on Senka, which is why it's worth talking about because it was her return. She didn't really look like she missed a beat, which is really incredible when you consider multiple factors. The fact that one, she was out with sickness, so that can take a lot out of you. Two, she's still in her first year. Her anniversary's coming up next month, but she's still new. And the fact that she still went out there and was Senka Akatsuki is an amazing thing. Um, but she got demolished. At the end of the day, she got demolished. Takumi and Sareee put an end to poor Senka in the end. But I think it's a match you want to go out of your way to see, mostly because it's setting up what's next. Marvelous is cooking, for the AAAW titles, the tag titles, those are on hold until next month when Spark Rush defends them at the Ito Dojo show against is it Tomoka Watanabe and Kara Ito, I believe. So that's something to look forward to there. Spark Rush is also wrestling together next week at a Strong Style Corkin. I know Nori's in the match. I forget who else was in the match. So if you want to keep up to Spark Rush, well, I'll keep you in the loop on that. But after the match, Senka Akatsuki challenged Takumi Iroha to a AAAW championship match. And not just a AAAW championship match, but do so on her anniversary show in her hometown next month. I don't think I need to say how incredibly exciting that sounds. I think if I say Takumi Iroha versus Senka Akatsuki AAAW Championship, that's all I need to say. Bring in the hometown crowd, bring in the anniversary celebration. That right there is why Marvelous has been crushing it this year. Like they feel fully back. Let's get that match going. I can't wait to see that match graphic. Make that official. But that is something to look forward to. But if you haven't watched this next match yet, this is something to look forward to as well, to get to watching. They kind of shocked us all last weekend. They announced that it was going to be Mio Momono versus Yurika Oka one-on-one, Shakiba first ring. Man, this match ruled. I know, shocker. Bubba Bubba Banana crushed it against one another. I have said this many a times on this show, dating back to our very first year of the show in 2021, 2022. I think it was 2021. Mio Momono is one of my favorite wrestlers on the planet Earth. And when Mio Momono is at her best, the best in the world list features her. Like my list for best wrestler in the world is Sareee, Mayu Utami, and Mio Momono. That is the list. When they're at the top of their powers, which I think they all are right now, that is the list right now. Yes, there are the Chihiro Hashimoto's, the Shuris, the Takumis, the Vennies that I think can all be on that list. But right now, at this very moment, that is the cream of the crop to me. And Mio Momono, since the return of her from her injury, which you never know, right? You never know how someone's going to come back from her injury, but for her, it was her arm. So she seems to have bounced back pretty easily, bounced back pretty quickly. She's just been sensational. It's the gauntlet with Utami. It's the tag match against Mayu, Kamo, and Nami, and it's this match. One-on-one, Bobo Moment and Banana. There is a conversation on the other side of this coin where Yurika Oka is the most underrated wrestler, professional wrestler on planet Earth. Not just Joshi wrestler, not just women's wrestler overall. I don't know if there's anyone that has as simple of a moveset, right? Yurika Oka is not going to hit you with a 450 splash. She's not going to do a, spinning back kick or something. She is going to keep it simple, drop kicks, slams, all these different cross bodies, but she's going to do it great. And she's going to do it fast. And she's going to do it in a way that excites you, a way that entertains you. That is the specialty of Yurika Oka. You combine these two, as we've seen as a tag team, now into a singles match, and you're in for a freaking treat. This was an awesome main event. The second best match I've probably seen this past week. I've seen a lot of great matches this week, but it's a must watch nonetheless. It is an absolute must watch because Mio Momono is class, Yurika Oka is fantastic, and these two left it all out there. There was emotions there, there was entertainment there, and there's the beauty of what these two bring to the table from start to finish. Like I said, I can't recommend this match enough. I can't recommend any Mio Momono match enough as I have been. Mio Momono's facing I Hozan one-on-one this weekend. That should be really good as well. But this match was awesome, awesome, awesome. Please, if you haven't, find it, go check it out. It's available on Zyko, or wait till it's on Wrestle Universe. Whatever you got to do, go out of your way to watch it. Mio Momono, Yurika Oka, they deserve your eyes because my oh my, they crushed it here. Awesome, awesome match. Now we head over to Marigold to talk my top 5 Dream Star matches with 3 days left, and then we'll preview those, and then we'll get out of here. Doing the tournaments, I obviously have less content to cover on the weekly podcast, but like I did a certain point in the 5-star last time, now that we've had the Korakuen Hall show, now that we've had the Shinjuku Face show, I feel very confident with my top 5 matches thus far from the Dream Star Grand Prix. So let's dive in. Now, this is all going to change. I'm going to include the final. We'll do the full list probably on the last review, but also we'll do it on the podcast in 2 weeks' time because the final is on the 14th. But here are my top 5 Dream Star Grand Prix matches that I think everyone needs to go out of the way to see. If you haven't been able to watch the whole tournament, maybe you're on tournament burnout, right? A lot of tournament wrestling over the past number of months, whatever it may be. These are the matches I highly recommend you go check out. And it starts with number 5 from the very first night of the tournament, Mai Sakurai one-on-one with Chanyota. This match has stood the test of time throughout this tournament. It in many ways was kind of the bar, right? It kind of set the bar on that very first show of the doubleheader of, okay, how great can we have it? How great can we have it? This match, listen, I think Chanyo's having a great tournament. I think Mai Sakurai's having a great tournament. But these two together, it's a great combination. And the ultimate building to the ultimate Chanyota win finally over Mai Sakurai was class. It was great. It's what I look for. It's what I love to see. And I really enjoyed it. I really did. And I think Chanyota is someone who, if she just keeps getting the big reps like she did in this tournament, she's going to be an incredible, incredible wrestler. She's someone that is capable of winning a top title eventually. Mai Sakurai knows how to bring out the best of Chanyota, and Chanyota really is comfortable with Mai Sakurai. I think that's been part of the journey for Chanyota in the Dream Star Grand Prix. Where's the comfort levels with her opponent? Where are the comfort levels? And see where that comes out on the other side. This match was awesome. This is my number 5 match of the tournament thus far. So could fall out over this weekend, but right now it deserves that praise. My number 4 match of the tournament thus far happened this past weekend at Korakuen Hall. Mai Sakurai versus Mirai. A very emotional match. A very, very emotional match. Mirai Saku has obviously been a staple of Marigold since day one, right? Those two were among the wrestlers to leave Stardom and join Marigold and help build this company, right? And they were the first ever Twin Star champions. And, they've had singles matches through the years, but none this great, none this powerful, none this emotional, none this story based, and maybe none this desperate. There was a desperation here, Mirai's only had 3 points in the Dream Star. She's not out, but she only had 3 points. Mai Sakurai, on the other hand, this was her final match until the final night. So there was a story told there of back and forth these two go, the story of who's going to get the win between the former tag team champions. And for Mai Sakurai, who is the reigning United National Champion and kind of playing the roadblock for one, Mirai and Miku Ano in this block, also last year's finalist, it was a fantastic story. And the crowd was super into it by the end. I think the best way it was, if the crowd was more into it from start to finish, this could have been even higher than number 4. But these two had a fantastic match. They really did. Everything you wanted a big time Korakuen match. The only difference is You got the biggest Korakuen match right after theirs, which we'll talk about here in a few minutes. But that being said, the moment where Mai Sakurai gets Mirai to tap out is a shocker, is a stunner, and one that I still kind of replay in my head in this tournament. It's a memorable result because it was very unexpected. I think that's part of it. It's very unexpected. So I'm fascinated to see what's next for Mirai in this tournament. She has 2 matches this weekend. She can get right back into it with 2 wins. I'm interested to see how it all breaks down. But this has been a really strong tournament for Mai, and Mirai will see where she is, because her first 2 matches weren't as jumping off the board as I expected. But this was the reminder of how great Mirai truly is. My number 3 match of the Dream Star Grand Prix, we go back to the opening night, the evening main event, and that was, of course, Mayu Utami one-on-one with Sareee Yamaoka. Listen, I know, if you listen to my reviews, you listen to this podcast, I'm always going to sing the praises of Mayu Utami, and I'm always going to sing the praises of Sareee Yamaoka. I think this match is the one that best allowed Sareee Yamaoka to showcase who she is here in her first year as a competitor. The reason I was talking about getting excited about the first anniversary match for Senka Akatsuki against Takumi Iroha is very similar to this one, in that it's the ace, the icon, whatever, against the super rookie. And this was the first time these two have ever shared the ring face to face, and it was fantastic. It embodies a lot of what Mayu has done throughout this tournament against the youthful wrestlers. She was decimating Sareee Yamaoka. She was destroying Sareee Yamaoka, but Sareee Yamaoka was showcasing the fight, the struggle, and showcasing her wrestling in the end. Sareee had this great tweet the other day of like, she isn't where she wants to be yet in her career. She wants to showcase her style of wrestling, which she hasn't reached. And this tournament has been a case of, her being the underdog as the super rookie, despite being the super rookie. She wants to be the dominant force. And this match, I feel like, had to give her the confidence of, I can be that. The whip on the German suplexes throughout this match were insane on Mayu Utami. The back and forth between these two overall was super exciting. And the shock win, of course, beat it all at the end when Mayu was absolutely stunned. Right now, this is Mayu's only loss, and very likely could be her only loss of the entire tournament. And I think that's important. But I absolutely loved this match. It was my match of the tournament for a long time. But boy, oh boy, this past week pushed it down and down and down, because that brings us to my number 2 match of the tournament, happening this past Tuesday at Shinjuku Face. I bet you didn't expect this one at the beginning of the tournament, but my second favorite match of the Dreamstar Grand Prix thus far is none other than Victoria Yuzuki against Rhea Seto. Victoria Yuzuki, probably going to be your MVP of this tournament, depending how Mikilano's tournament closes out. She still has room depending how Mayu's tournament closes out. I think Victoria Yuzuki's got that MVP on lock, and this showing and the Koki showing, I think, are the best reasons why. This match with Rhea Seto was fantastic. You got to go listen to my full review because it was pretty much, it was the day of review, and that gives you my full fresh thoughts on it. But my God, these two understood the assignment, and they said, let's steal the show. Let's embody what a rivalry is and the development in our hatred for one another, and tell that story for 15 minutes. There is a story here of Rhea Seto getting closer and closer to overcoming and beating Victoria Yuzuki. And she was oh so close here. She's the one that ended the match in dominant fashion on the upper hand. And I think that's kind of the story of a little more time. Rhea Seto can beat Victoria Yuzuki. That's a great story to tell. That's a great next chapter to tell from here. These two have had some really great matches this year, and it's very clear they have an incredible chemistry with one another. And this 1 absolutely rocked. I can't recommend it enough. But there's a reason it's only number 2. It won't shock you what my number 1 match of the tournament is. That, of course, is the main event from the Cork and Hall show, Tommy Hayashishita versus Mayu Utami. Nothing tops this. This is my favorite match of tournament season. This match is everything I love about Utami Hayashishita. It's everything I love about Mayu Utami, and it's everything I love about a Cork and Hall main event. You combine all those things, you mix them up, you put them together, and you make some magic. And that's what these two did. These two have been the embodiment of top tier pro wrestling in my journey as a Joshi fan. Whether it be Utami's World of Stardom title reign, whether it be literally anything Mayu Utami does, they've been the embodiment. And so many times when these two have faced off, I have just fallen in love with the story that they tell against one another, the love they clearly have for one another. It's so clear when this match is over that Utami freaking loves facing Mayu Utami. And I think it's a mutual feeling on the other side. You watch these two and you see greatness. You watch these two and you see an epic all-time match, right? You see all these different factors and the possibilities of where these two can go given the big main event, given the world title at this stage of their career. Utami is on an absolute run. I just want to stress this one time. Utami Hayashishita has found it. Utami is crushing it. She is thriving. She is succeeding. It took a while in the world title run. You know, people said what they've had to say, but she is on a run right now of consistency, of confidence, and this and the Mio Momono match alone are the hello. Utami's still great. Top tier match, my number 1 match of the tournament, my number 1 match of the entire tournament run this far. We'll see if anything can top it here on the last 3 shows in the next 2 weekends. It's going to be tough, though. It's going to be really, really tough. But those are my top 5 from the Dreamstar Grand Prix. Let's preview the upcoming weekend before we get out of here. This upcoming Saturday and Sunday, Marigold is back with tournament matches galore. We'll have 3 tournament matches on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. You can check out the YouTube channel here. We will have reviews up for both of them. Might be a combined one, might be one. We will see when we get there. But let's give a preview. Let's give a look at what we have coming up here. This match is just exciting. The future is on display as Celine Flora teams back up. They'll face Sareee Yamioka and Yuki Yamazaki this Saturday in one of the undercard matches. But then we'll go to your tournament matches, starting with the Dream League. Mayu Utami versus Chiaki. Mayu Utami must win to stay in contention for the Dream League. So I fully expect her to win. Actually, if she loses, she's got to win. So if she wins, it makes a very interesting final night. This is her final tournament match before facing Victoria Suzuki at the final night. I expect her to comfortably get the win over Chiaki here. Then you'll have 2 Star League matches. First up, Miku Ano versus Nagisa Nozaki. This could be a loss for Miku Ano, but I don't expect it to be. I think if she loses here, she's eliminated based on what Nozaki at. So Nozaki's at 7. Miku's at 5. A loss here would officially eliminate Mieko Ano from the tournament. So she can't lose. A must win, because if Nozaki gets to 9, only Mai Sakurai, I think, would be in contention there. So yeah, let's not have that happen, please. I think Miku Ano has been kind of the great story since returning to the tournament at the Cork. And it's kind of like every match, every show she has, it's a different chapter. And this is her biggest chapter to tell thus far. So this is a big time matchup, and I'm very interested to see how it all goes. Then we'll also have Mirai versus Misa Matsui. This is one of your, kind of dark horses, potential top match in this tournament. Mirai is in a must win situation as well. She's only at 3 points, but she can get back into the conversation with a big win here over Misa Matsui. This will be Matsui's final match before the final. Mirai will then also wrestle on Sunday. Speaking of Sunday, we'll have Mayu teaming with Victoria Zuki and Sareee Oka to take on Mai Sakurai, Nagisa Tachibana, and Hummingbird. It's a big opportunity for both Hummingbird and Tachibana stepping into the roles as the seconds with Mai Sakurai. But your two tournament matches include Mirai versus Kazuna Tanaka. Listen, Kazuna Tanaka's found it. Her past two tournament matches have been really good showings. I expect this to be much of the same. Her and Mirai, I think, have an interesting face off here and an interesting face off that I'm hoping the absolute best for. And then you'll have Miku Ano versus Go Chica. Winner keeps on moving along. Loser falls out of the tournament. So that's what's on stake here. Miku could end the weekend at. Miku could end the weekend. Actually, let me rephrase. If Miku loses this match, she is not out, but it does give Go Chica a chance. Go Chica does need to win this match. Miku Ano could lose, and then the math would be mathin'. She would still be in it. She would just have to beat Mai Sakurai in the final night to win the entire thing. So this is an interesting one, and kind of maybe the one I'm most looking forward to this upcoming weekend. But that is your Star League matchups. That is everything you need to know from this weekend in Marigold, and that is everything you need to know from me. I'm done. The 5-Star Joshi Show is complete. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you, everyone, for joining me here. We'll get back to the hour-long episodes in due time. Probably next week. We're reviewing Stardom to the World after all, so that'll be a big time review. We'll be reviewing the Corkin as well. So that is all. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And until next time, make sure you check out the Dream Star reviews this weekend, and we'll maybe have a Stardom to the World review up on the YouTube channel as well. But like I said, that's it. So long. See you later. Bye-bye, everyone.